My why is that I understand everything that women are up against, a working mom is up against, and how in the world can I make her life easier?
May people be empowered, emboldened, and fortified with regard to their nutrition and to their self-determination as they enter the perimenopausal or menopausal state.
There is actually an incredible amount of joy that you can have if you change the narrative around what I'm doing in the kitchen. Is it another thing that I have to do? Or is it something that I actually get to do that nourishes me?
You're listening to Solving for Joy. I'm your host, Dr. Chrissie Ott.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Solving for Joy. Today we are joined by our very first guest, whose name is Joy. This is Joy Rubey. She is the founder and CEO of Acme and also Spade and Spoon. And her story is just as nourishing as the work that she does and leads. Joy Rubey is a great source of joy in my life. We should count how many times we say the word joy today, as you are named Joy. But her passion for sustainability, food, community, and family comes from a deeply personal place. She understands firsthand the challenges of caregiving, the weight of health struggles, and the power of making intentional choices for ourselves and for the people that we love. Joy is a former architect, and as such, she really knows how to design systems that work, and she's brought that creativity and ingenuity and point of view to reimagining how we think about food. She's been leading a quiet, hopefully becoming less quiet revolution in local food systems, making it so much easier for families like mine to access fresh, seasonable, sustainable meals without sacrificing convenience or quality. And I am going to testimonialize all over the place about the details of that in just a moment. But what I think is most inspiring, and that I hope that Joy will grace us with her point of view, is about her why. Her belief that the choices we make every day, how we eat, how we connect, and how we care for ourselves and each other can transform not only our health, but our entire world around us. So this journey is one of resilience, heart, and determination to leave the world a little better than she found it. So please join me in welcoming Joy Rubey. Thank you so much for being here with me today, Joy.
Well, thanks for having me on today and just getting to see your face. I mean, I think it was 9 years ago, probably, when we were opening in Portland, and I got sat down with a few of our customers, and yes, we got to chat way back when, and it's been really busy ever since.
I bet.
For both of us, but
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
No.
I had a medical practice right around the corner from this wonderful restaurant Ned led, and you guys did an opening event, and I was so excited from the get-go about the idea of having a locally curated and sourced meal kit that was not full of tiny pieces of plastic that we would never, ever reuse enough to justify their existence. Yeah, I can't wait to just tell people what a love story this actually is for me to get to have you and share a little bit about the way that your work has solved for joy in my life.
Yeah, well, and I think that, when you talk about why, I mean, I think you led up to a lot of the things that I think about every single day. From literally what am I feeding my child, to how am I nourishing myself, and how are we connecting around food, and how are the choices, that I'm making today impacting my daughter's future, their water supply, their soil health, all these things. They really start with the decisions we make today. And so there's always a lot going on in my head, but I always go back to why I'm doing this. And And it boiled down to, I knew 5 people with terminal cancer. And this is when I was in my mid-30s, and I was working as an architect, and I just wanted to know where my daughter's food was going to come from. And I was like, I can't control everything, but I could control what I put into her body. But I work a lot, and I'm already juggling that and being a mom. So how the hell am I going to go to a farmer's market and to the co-op and to the other grocery store to like fill in all these blanks? I also wasn't an awesome cook. I had like the same things on repeat, and I had never cooked a whole chicken. And so I was like, oh my gosh, we can only get whole chickens. Like, this is going to be an adventure. So it's always this why of like, I just wanted to, and I always have said this, I just wanted to feed my daughter good food. And it's funny because over the weekend I was on a walk in the woods, and I always have like these moments when I'm walking in the woods, and I was thinking about this conversation that we're going to have today. And I thought, I always say that this is about my daughter, like what kind of future am I going to leave her? What kind of food am I going to feed her? What kind of, and then I realized like, come on, this is about me, like this is the hack that I needed so that I could feed my daughter good food, so that I could do these things. But ultimately, like I'm at a new chapter. This is, I started the company 13 years ago, almost 14 years ago. And right now I'm solving like the issue of, how do I feed my body? How do I nourish this body? Because I really was focused on nourishing my daughter's body. And now I'm like, how am I going to help women do this? How am I going to help other women like hit their stupid protein count and fiber count, and that was never a thought of when, before. And so it's like, oh my gosh, wait a second. My why is that I understand everything that women are up against, a working mom is up against, and how in the world can I make her life easier? Really, that is, and healthier. And like, how can we thrive through this? And how can our kids thrive through this? So I think my why I think I might have to redefine a little bit my why, but there's heart into it. 14 years ago, there was that moment that flipped a switch, but
I
yeah.
love a developing why. We're all developing stories, and there's no need for it to stay static. So your why 11 years ago has developed along with you.
Yeah.
Or become like an even bigger, more inclusive why, perhaps.
Totally.
And having that alignment and actually being able to engage in aligned, meaningful action that delights you is one of my very core definitions of solving for joy. And without even that as your foreground goal, you have helped thousands of other people solve for joy, because this is, I'm telling you, the number one life hack in my entire world, and has been for a decade almost. So I'm going to tangentialize just a little bit and tell you guys this love story for me. When I discovered Acme, my child was small, and I do cook and I love to cook, but I never have loved utilizing my valuable brain space and bandwidth to meal plan or to acquire the ingredients. And I think that I have a disproportionately negative reaction to lacking that one ingredient. And so when I realized that I could do things like tell AI to give me a recipe for these 5 things that I had in my fridge, that was a pretty cool thing. But Acme has that beat in spades, or Spade and Spoon. Funny. So when the pandemic started, especially, it was after the flood that I detailed a few episodes back. And so, pre-pandemic, I had my mom and my brother in my household. I was cooking for them all the time. I was definitely not having the brain space to do effective meal planning, and going to the grocery store was kind of a big deal back then right? So the fact that Acme was still happening and I could create restaurant quality food in my house every night with gorgeous quality local ingredients that would show up on my doorstep. I mean, this is profound pleasure to me. And I'm not going to lie, I like how it makes me look in the kitchen. I look good. I'm a great cook. People come to my house. They're like, ooh, will you make that thing again? Ooh, was that an Acme meal? My friends in Minnesota and North Carolina and other places are always like, well, do they have that where I live? Because it's been such a blessing in our life. So we're recording this the week after Thanksgiving, and the Acme box, which is the name of the version near me in the Northwest, has an entire like Thanksgiving box, everything but the turkey, basically. And that stuffing is on point, Joy. I mean, it's so good. 2 mornings ago, I made apple scones with my daughter. Let me tell you, there is no parallel universe that I can think of in which I would have made apple scones with my daughter if I didn't have that recipe. And, Michael Pollan and many others have told us for eons, like no matter what you do at home as a home cook, you're going to have a more nutritious experience, less saturated with highly processed foods or highly preservativized foods. You're going to do better. It's going to have less sugar. It's going to have less salt. No matter what you're doing it at home is going to be better and so much less expensive than what I would, pay for one meal out with my family. So Acme has really replaced those nights of like, screw it, we'll just get, DoorDash or something. It really doesn't happen. It's a very rare occurrence in my house because there are these build your own meal boxes and 30-minute meals. So I can even say, oh, I know it's going to be an intense week. I'm only going to get 30-minute meals. This is going to be fantastic. It's just been amazing.
I love that. Well, it sounds like we've designed this for you. Like this is designed for you. Like, and what is to come? Like, how old is your daughter?
My child is 11, and she even asks me, "Ooh, Mom, this was so good. Oh, your white beans sausage kale soup, right?"
Oh, yep, Anna
Or
loves
chard.
it.
She's like, "Could you make this for my birthday?" Like, that's how much she loves it. And then she kind of looks at me and she's like, "Is this an Acme meal?"
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
don't get
Well,
quite full credit.
you're right at this point that all of these years that you've been in the kitchen cooking and you've made scones with her, all of a sudden there is a shift, and it happens right around. It started inching in a little bit about 10, and then it took off at 12, where Anna just makes everything now. Like she just goes in and she knows how to make any type of egg. She knows how to make soup. She loves to make minestrone. She makes all of the baking kits. Like, it's just amazing that she's super comfortable in the kitchen. And I never was like that as a kid. Like, we just didn't gather in the kitchen. Like we gathered around the table. My mom made meals a lot for us. They were not necessarily good, but they fed us and a lot of us. But it's really something special. And I think I'm also going to say that I think we're also the same age. So when you started and your child was younger, you really needed us for a different level. And then as you kind of go on, then all of a sudden your daughter is going to start taking on. And now my daughter's 15, almost about to turn 16. We started this when she was 2. She will take on one dinner a week and make the whole meal. So now she's building all these skills. And then it's like we're kind of going into this other chapter of like the amount of joy that's created by centering things around food is just incredible.
And just also the way that this positions us in a way to regard and relate to our food producers, whether they are artisanal pasta makers in the Northwest or bakeries or, farmers, ranchers. It's very special and unique that we get to do that. And what a beautiful thing to see Anna taking up a whole meal per week and building that confidence. Like, so exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And she's like, the other thing, and I thought, holy crap, we did it. Dustin, we did it. Like she's an athlete and a really good student. And before a game, she was like, Mom, if I put a nut and some almond butter inside of a date and cover it with a little bit of dark chocolate, and I can put peanut crumbles on top, that is like the perfect pre-game fuel, Mom, because it gives me, I was just like, was like, yes, yes, she's listening to me. Like
oh
she's
my
actually
gosh.
thinking, and she just like went in and just like created something in the kitchen. So, but again, like it's the years of repetition. I think the other thing that's different than any other meal kit is we're all kind of growing together too. Like a lot of our customers are still with us from 14 years ago. And it's because they're evolving we're growing with them. And maybe they're interested in Mediterranean diet and they never were before. And maybe they're interested, we just launched a juice cleanse. Maybe that's something they never would have done before. Maybe their kids are starting to cook. Like there's lots of opportunities besides just the what is for dinner. But the key is can you go on and shop knowing that we've done the mom stamp of approval? Like there's no junk ingredients, there's no preservatives, no colors, no additives, no hormones, no, pesticides. And we know the people who are producing the food. We know the pasta maker and the bread maker and the rancher and the fisherman. Like we know these people.
And you provide employment, flexible part-time employment for the people who are delivering the boxes. As a feminist entrepreneur, like that is one of those things when female-owned businesses, when female entrepreneurs do well, their communities do well too.
Yeah, I agree. And our drivers, like what we're doing is special to the point where I've had the same drivers for years. I've had the same drivers. And so they're really the face of my company, and not everyone's home, but you've probably had the same driver for a very long time.
Oh yeah. Every once in a while when we see each other, she's like excited to see me. Like we've hugged.
Yeah. Do you have Fran? Is
I
Fran
think so.
here?
I can't say
Or
for sure, but
Megan?
probably.
Yeah, it's probably Fran.
And
But
Joy, there are like a bazillion reasons why this wonderful entity could have never existed. So I really just honor your fortitude and commitment to this vision, this creative impulse that you had in response to seeing the suffering of your acquaintances with cancer and wanting to just make the world a safer, better place for your daughter.
Yeah. And at the same time that we were doing all that, my husband was starting a farm. And so not only did I have the mom side of it where it was like, how am I going to just keep myself together here and feed my kid? But my husband was starting a farm, and it was like going to farmers markets was insanity because if the weather wasn't perfect in the Northwest, then no one would show up, or just a few people, and so then you just have to,
so much
everything
effort.
you harvest goes to, the food bank, and it's just like, it's so hard for farmers. They already have to deal with so many issues on land and then weather. And then you have to be a bookkeeper and you have to be a distributor. So we really found this magic point where we could really begin to change that food system and shift to not something that's filled with garbage, which is what our grocery stores are mostly filled with now, by making it easy for the producers and making it easy for the person at home that's cooking it. And I wanted to be the CSA person who could, because you can go join a CSA. Now you can join CSAs and maybe they add in bread or pasta, but that didn't work for me. I needed someone to give me like a plan, like, and tell me what to do with it, and give me the spice blends and give me the sauces, like, so that I didn't have to go run around and do more stops. And so, when we started, there weren't meal kit companies. Like there literally weren't. There was no HelloFresh, and I don't want to think that they copied us. We just had the same idea. They had the same idea a year later, but it just makes sense to me that we could change things just by making it easier for moms. Moms have this incredible buying power, this incredible power in our communities and in our health. And this is just a little side, but the whole bullshit around getting the color out of Kellogg's, fuck Kellogg's. Just don't buy it. Just don't buy it. They will stop producing garbage if women, the moms, stop buying it. I am and so I'm always trying to think of how can I make this easier for the mom? How can I make her health thrive? How can I make her kids' health thrive?
Yes.
Because we have a power that is so great. Most moms are out there grocery shopping and meal planning and doing a lot of hustling. And I just want to make it easier because really, if we could flip the script, and I think this is so much about what you're talking about on your podcast and that deep meaning of the podcast is there is actually an incredible amount of joy that you can have if you change the narrative around what I'm doing in the kitchen. Is it another thing that I have to do? Or is it something that I actually get to do that nourishes me, that nourishes my daughter, my husband?
Yes.
And to do it and I had a customer tell me this really early on when I was hanging on by a thread with a 4-year-old starting a business. It was a shit show of a time when I was in my late 30s trying to accomplish all of that. And she said, Joy, dinner time is your time. You get 30, turn on your favorite music, pour a glass of your favorite drink, and just enjoy, dance around the kitchen. And then when you sit down, watch your family enjoy something. And I was like, well, it's not always that picture perfect. Sometimes but she was like, but it can be. And so it changed the way I went from thinking this is a chore to being this is actually, I'm going to choose that this is something I enjoy. Because I didn't enjoy it at first.
It's a perfect segue to how this relates to generalized burnout. A lot of our listeners are in healthcare. A lot of our listeners are physicians. Not all, of course, but many are. And burnout is not special for doctors, but it is kind of especially intense in healthcare these days. And burnout is generalizable. Once we are burned out in one domain of our life, whether it is, burning out as a parent and householder or burning out at work, they really impact one another because of the implicit emotional exhaustion and cynicism and feeling of low self-efficacy. And what your work does in my world is, it decreases my exhaustion because it's less energy I've got to spend. And it really boosts my self-efficacy in this one domain. Right? It makes us sit down at the table. It causes better nourishment in my family, which is one of those things that I feel really good about, And I think that's so true too. I actually just glean joy from the chopping and prepping that I get to do because it's enough that I get to do that I feel I truly made this meal. I just was given the ingredients. It's not I'm just warming it up.
Yeah. Burnout is very real, and I've been there. I mean, I have 2 companies in 2 states. I'm caring for my child with my husband, but I'm also caring for my aging parents, and so burnout is so intense. And I felt for years I kept thinking when is this burnout gonna actually hit rock bottom?
Keeps going.
I can tag out for a second, and I just in this last year, I've done a deep dive. I'm I don't eat junk, I don't eat perfect. I do love, a piece of cake from a great baker or a croissant it's not I'm perfect, but I've really leaned in this last year. And we're actually going to be doing something. It's going to be called the 100-Day Challenge. It's coming in January. But I really leaned into like, what if I just took care of myself? Like, what if I really just like loved myself? And I kept thinking like, because I'm 50, yes, I worked with a nutritionist because I didn't know what was happening to my body. And then I learned I had to eat a lot more protein and fiber. So that's a chapter that you'll discover in Acme is is a reset that includes lots of fiber and lots of protein. So this past year, I really like the past 6 months, I've been diving into micronutrients and like, so it's not just the, like, yes, it's the food and it's a meal and it's something that my family will enjoy, but I'm like, can I get 9 different vegetables? Like 9, like, and everyone should start with a baseline of like, how much do they have going on in their bodies now? Like, and I was counting like 3 or 4 a day. And I was like, okay, I may not be eating processed foods or, junk ingredients, but I'm not getting enough nutrients in my body. And so that was kind of this new self, like, can I come out of burnout with like really focusing on micronutrients and like really focusing on like filling my body with organic produce, because it's real and people need hacks. Like when you're really exhausted, you don't have time to meal plan and make sure that, yes, you do have cumin in your, you could have a great idea to make a chili, buy all the ingredients, and you're missing one. You ran out of cumin and you forgot to put it on the list. And now that meal might go to waste, unless you're going to make another trip. So there's a lot going on in our lives. But I think if we realize that if someone's out there to make it easier for you, I just hope more people know that we exist, like that people know that there is a hack other than a HelloFresh that can deliver really good food, and to really like pull people into like our community. So, because it is, yes, we're all about food, but we're on this mission together, because when someone shows up and they're supporting Spade and Spoon in Colorado or in the Pacific Northwest, Acme Farms and Kitchen, Acme Bucks, there are dozens of small producers that you're also supporting. So it feels good when you have, you just brought up Thanksgiving, it's like Avenue bread and this, and Pure Country ground pork. And, obviously Uli's pork this time. And, it's like local leeks and local, it's like they're real people attached to these ingredients.
I'm making your tantamen ground pork ramen for dinner tonight, girl.
Okay. Do you know how?
No more leftovers. You said some exciting things to me. Nourishing ourselves first, nourishing our, 50-ish selves first. As you said, like the data, the information is about protein, y'all. It's about protein and fiber. And it doesn't take the place of all the different vegetables. We know that people that have the greatest number of different plants in their diet every day do better. This is something I learned from my colleague and dear friend, Miriam Markowski, who is a nutrition PhD at Stanford. And I think that her number, she told me, was 30 or 35, but you get to count like the oregano in your spice as one of them.
Totally.
Right? But you look at that is a measure that you could do. And this is not about diet culture. I want to say that so loud and proud.
Yeah.
Like this is not about restriction or leaving things behind or cutting things out forever and ever, unless that is what your body really needs to do in order to thrive. It's about pleasing our body. It's about nourishing our body so that we actually can be our best self. And, when we spoke about having this podcast episode, you and I kind of like geeked out about a couple of things. One, our menopause activism is one of them. We'll get to talk about that a little bit. We are definitely plotting about some good things. And also just like nourishing ourselves with a green drink or a juice, the jam-packed nutrients in there. So people sometimes wonder how how it is that I manage to maintain such a high energy level. And I'm telling you guys, it is my Thorn like Daily Greens Plus and my Thorn Collagen Plus, which makes my Daily Greens yummy. The two of those things together that's like my micro hack for burnout. It is how I actually address the mitochondrial manifestation of burnout. And it
Yeah.
makes me have energy to get through the day and have ideas and engage with people and be, in the version of myself that I want to be.
Yeah.
And it's all about how I feed my body micronutrients.
I know. It really is real. And I have the exact same collagen. I don't, it's not an AG1 or something,
No.
but it's absolutely the building block. But I think if we could normalize some of these conversations, there's only so much more burnout we can take. And so I think reframing some of our to-do lists to bring us more joy. So I listen to audiobooks while I do chores around the house, and it has made that drastically more enjoyable. I listen to music when I'm cooking in the kitchen, and I move my body. I'm moving my body as much as I possibly can. But I think what I hear from both of us is both of us have been burned out, like really deeply burned out.
Yes.
And both of us are now in our 50s, so we're wise as fuck. And I hope I'm allowed to say that word on here. But if you could go back to your 42-year-old self, or 44-year-old self, I want to show up for that person. I want to show up for that person because I had to hold on for dear life for like 44 to 49 and a half. Hang on for dear life thinking, gosh, I'm burned out. And not just saying the burnout, it's so hard to get out of bed. It's so hard to move my body. It's so hard. You get to a point and it's like, what is that thing that you would tell someone as your first baby step out of that darkness? Like if you could go back to your 42 or 44-year-old self, what would be something you would tell them?
The first thing that comes to mind is developing awareness of where you actually are. So checking in with how things really are, because we get so caught up in the doing and the reacting to our circumstance that we often don't check in with ourselves for years at a time. So really deeply checking in to say, hey, how are you? What are you needing? When I did that truly, and for me, it took the form of meditation, but it could be in journaling. It could be in, a flotation tank. It could be in a yoga class. Like it could be whatever it is on a run. But when you have that time out of time to really deeply check in with yourself and see how you're doing, you may have some ideas. You may have enough awareness to kind of climb out of that defeated state and be like, actually, I have a choice here. I'm going to make a small change, one small change, get 1% better.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm on the meditation train. I've read all the books. I listen, I have time. I think one turning point for me where I was, I think we share this in common as well, as I don't buy into diet cult. Like I don't buy into fad diets but I also, for the first time in my life, in my mid 40s, put on 35, 40 pounds. And I didn't know what the heck was going on, and I felt out of my body. And I was like working out harder and I was doing things. And the doctor kept telling me like, oh, well, here's an antidepressant and here's, just to reduce your calories. And I was like, I ended up with a nutritionist who just taught me, number one was to eat protein, get your protein, figure it out, how you're going to get it, because I didn't eat a lot of meat. So it was going to be a game to figure out how I was going to get that. And then as soon as I could hit that number that the nutritionist had me hitting, then they said, okay, now you're good at that. Now go find 25, 30 grams of fiber every day. And it was like this change in my mindset of, holy crap, like the fuel I was putting into my body in my 30s is what I needed. But the fuel that I need to put into my body in my 40s is different. I need like the premium. I need the don't put anything under 92 on the gasoline. Don't put that in me. So I wish I would have learned that a little bit sooner, just like protein and fiber, and like learning about it, like and gamifying, like, okay, how am I going to get, and I do make it easier for people to do some of those things, but I think that is one. And then I think the micronutrient, like just thinking about like putting colorful, beautiful things into my body took me from like on the ground to like way more energy, way less brain fog. And I thought I was eating healthy before, hitting those protein and fiber goals. But then I opened up to like eating way more produce. It just like was like a better type of fuel in my body. So those would probably be and they're around food, but I did move. I walk outdoors whenever I can. And I do my green juice with collagen. I'm addicted to celery juice. There's lots of things like that. Checking in with your physician about hormones, like if they just want to give you an antidepressant, I'd go find another doctor. But yeah, so things like that. But I feel like those are ways that you can experience way more joy in your life if you could capture something a little before you go off the rails. And
It's such a virtuous cycle. It's the opposite of
Mhm.
a vicious cycle, because when you eat those ways, those highly nourishing foods, especially if it's not in a way that costs you a lot of energy, then you have more energy to think more clearly and to repeat the actions that support this cycle going on, moving forward.
Yeah, so I think those are things that excite me too in this next chapter for me, and it being 50, and I just turned 50 in October, and like the build up to it. And then all of a sudden it was like I turned 50 and I thought, like, game on, like this is going to be my best. And then right after that it was like, okay, how am I going to help other women? How am I going to help other women thrive? And maybe shorten that 4 or 5 years of perimenopause hell, shorten it a little bit, or support it differently, or and that's when I was out on my walk this weekend, and I was like, wait a second, I think my why has always thought about it's my daughter, but I think it's women, it's moms. I'm trying to help moms, like, and not even necessarily moms, like busy women who have really full plates and who maybe they don't have kids, but they're caring for their siblings or their parents, or like there's complexities, and yeah, we're all busy.
Yes, and the men who are holding their space in the kitchen
Yeah.
and for the families also.
And there are a lot of them, and I think that's one thing that's been exciting for my husband and I. We've been together for 29 years. And just in like the last few years, he just started cooking. And I'm just like, this is amazing. He just pulls out an Acme recipe or Spade and Spoon recipe and starts cooking. So if you don't have a spouse or partner who is going to help in the kitchen, it may change. Don't underestimate them. If they love the food and you are too busy one night to make it, they may just start making it.
Yes, in our family, I am the recognized chef. I'm the head chef, and Sue is the sous chef. We like to
The sous chef.
to tease. But when prompted, she's happy to follow an Acme recipe, and it is such a delight to come in from my backyard office and find that somebody has made this beautiful meal. It's so sweet to be
Yeah.
cooked for, as much as I do love cooking. And I love how all of this relates to really switching one of those variables that we thought were constants, right? So if you thought cooking and planning food is hard, I don't cook, these things are things we think are constants, right? But with Acme and other hacks like this, or Spade and Spoon, we can actually see that completely shift. It's
Yeah.
not hard. It is actually delightful,
Mhm.
and it can be made easy
Yeah.
when the things come together and have it align and benefit many, many people.
Yeah.
Such a good and exciting thing. And Joy, you and I are gearing up for an event in Denver on January 8th. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So this kind of piggybacks on this conversation we're having now is like, how do we help women thrive right now, find more joy? And part of my past year journey or digging out of burnout was finding the right care. And I actually started hormone replacement therapy. Really, all I was offered up in the past decade when I felt awful. And what I mean by feeling awful was I sleep terrible, my joints hurt all the time, gaining weight, like brain fog, tired all the time in the afternoons. And the answer was an anti anxiety med or reduce your calories to 1,200 calories. And here's a antidepressant. And
Ay, ay, ay.
that was literally what was offered to me. And so the burnout continued. And then this past May, I just, Instagram has my number. And so they served up something where someone was talking about hormone replacement therapy. And I just thought, I'm going to use this online service. I'm going to talk to their doctor. I started a really low dose of estrogen and progesterone. What do you know? My shoulder stops hurting, and it's been hurting forever, like a year. Like I couldn't even lift my arm up. It hurt so bad. Um, Brain fog was gone within a few days. Sleep improved within a month. Like I ended up having so much, so then all of a sudden it made me feel energized to fuel my body. And so, and I'm almost 50. And so I'm like, why are none of my friends talking about this? And I kind of just like got it. It was like my husband jokes about me and all my systems, because when you don't feel great, when you feel burned out, um, if you are on social media, you will get suckered into trying systems to feel better. Like I've tried AG1 and I've tried so many different things. Like it's ridiculous to really even count castor oil packs and this and this and I do love a lot of them. And I still use some things, but like I spent thousands and thousands of dollars trying to find myself through this 4 or 5 years of burnout. And it like just was this light switch that went on when I like so quickly when I just had a little bit of hormones. So I talked to my girlfriends. These are girlfriends I've had since the third grade.
Oh, wow.
So we go way back. And my sister-in-law. And I kind of got like, I felt awful, like, well, that's going to give you cancer. And I thought, when I saw this on Instagram, I'm not a dum dum. I went in and I read Estrogen Matters. I've read so many books thinking like, would this be a smart move? I've read about menopause. I've read about fasting like a girl. I've read all these different things. And I thought, no, I think that study was wrong, and I'm going to stick by my decision to go on a little bit of estrogen. And so this movie it just got released in October. It's called The M Factor, and several women, and physicians are talking. They just want us to start talking about this. It's not like I do not take a lot of pills. I'm not a big pharmaceutical fan. but I think women need some support. And I'm not a doctor, but I love that these women created this film. And so, yeah, I thought I would like more people to not spend 5 years and thousands of dollars on systems when they might need just a little bit of something that could help them get out of a hole and have enough energy to do a walk that afternoon and a big
Yes.
dinner. And then maybe the next day they feel a little bit clearer and they pick up a phone and call a friend and talk to a friend. And that brings them so much happiness. And now all of a sudden, and then maybe they prep their lunch, and because they're not ass dragging in the evening because of their day.
Yeah.
So the movie means a lot to me. Menopause and women's health means a lot to me.
The beginning of the Menopause Manifesto, she describes menopause as, this like, of course it's much like a second puberty, right? One was going up the mountain and one's coming down the mountain of ovarian, function and ovulation. And also it's not in a vacuum, like it's in a very patriarchal environment, especially these last,
Yeah.
hundreds of years, where women's health wasn't getting thought of actually outside of the bias of the paternalistic and patriarchal frame. So she's like, so you're headed off into basically a second puberty, but there's no rites or rituals. Nobody talks about it. There's no whisper network. It's expected to suck. It's expected to be kind of like a pre-death, and good luck. And also, we don't want to hear about it. And also, if you complain loudly about it, you're just going to be dismissed as, having chronic fatigue or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it in a nutshell. And I think my goal in us getting to talk, or like gather women and to talk about it, is we've been through burnout. We've survived our 40s. I think 40s are so fantastic on so many levels for business and for like developing other sides of yourself. But there's also this like so many other challenges too. And so, I just felt like if we can host the event and then we talk about how important it is that we find happiness, like that we find joy in our life, and we make sure that if there is something hormonally preventing us from experiencing real joy, then let's do something about it. Because I can tell you that once I did start a little bit of estrogen, I had so much more energy to make healthy choices. I had so much more energy to take a walk. I had so much more mental clarity to parent and to not lose my shit. And I just wonder what it would have been like if I would have started it 3 years ago, And so it's like, okay, I'm going to grieve that for a hot second and then move on,
and then make it better for the people coming through it next.
For sure.
I mean, as we talked about on the phone before, Joy, my symptom of menopause, my primary symptom was also shoulder pain, and it turns out that's not at all unlikely. It's not uncommon. I don't know the percentages, but it's enough that there's a whole thing called the 50-year-old shoulder. Mm-hmm. And to have it absolutely resolve after starting hormone replacement therapy or menopausal hormone therapy, it's not surprising to the people who treat menopause and know those things. Yeah. So perhaps that reaches somebody's ears out there today that needs to know they're not crazy for having shoulder pain that's not injury related. Yeah. And if they're in that window of, somewhere between 45 and 55, that might be what you need more than shoulder injections. This is not medical advice. I do not know your situation. Please talk to your doctor. And also, information is power. So may people be empowered, emboldened, and fortified with regard to their nutrition and to their self-determination as they enter the perimenopausal menopausal state. And I can't wait to go to that screening and speak with you on the panel and see how it goes. It's going to be fun.
It will be fun. I think anytime that we can gather a group of women who, for the most part, are about to go through something and potentially help a handful of people, would be incredible. And again, like I think if someone's moving towards lightness and moving towards happiness, then it takes a lot of different things. And I think that's what you learn. And I saw this TikTok or I don't know, Instagram reel. And this woman was talking about her apple cake or something, and she's made it. Did you see that one? She's like, I'm making it for the 30th time for Thanksgiving. And she's like, but I'm bringing in all of those versions of me, and she was like, I was thinking about like, oh, and I made it when I was in college. And then I made it when I was, newly married. And then I made it when I had a newborn, my first newborn. And then I made it, and then I made it in menopause, and she's like, and now I'm like, and she was like, then I hit 50 and I'm just like bringing all of these versions of me in. And I think that is what happiness is when you will bring in all of those versions of yourself, because your burnout sometimes, or just going through a chapter that just feels dark and dull and not life-giving, there is an opportunity right on the other side of that, which is you have a podcast and you have a different chapter. So it's okay to be hanging on by a thread right now, because it also could mean you're just about ready to flip the switch on that next chapter.
I think that's a beautiful place to close out. It's also tying back full circle with how our why changes and our answer to our why changes as we develop. I love the image of bringing all the versions of us together into whatever it is that we have to offer now. And all of this is for the purpose of reducing suffering. So I hope that somebody finds more joy, less suffering as a result of listening to this conversation today. Joy, it's been such a pleasure to have you. Thanks. As I knew it would be. Thank you for having this conversation with me, and I cannot wait to see you in person for our January event in Denver. So Joy, will you please share with our listeners a little bit about how to find Acme and Spade and Spoon in their areas of the country? And I know that you also have a kind offer for our listeners.
Yeah. So we do have two companies. Our Pacific Northwest company is called Acme Farms and Kitchen. You can find us at theacmebox.com. So just, ACME, box.com. And you'll find subscription boxes if you just want to set it and forget it. You can find build your own boxes where you can just pick your own meals. We just started new categories where you can look at what's for breakfast, what's for lunch, what's for dinner. So you can really start filling in your plate and your meals so that you're knowing that what's coming in your house is clean, good food. If you're in the Colorado, Denver area, our company is called Spade and Spoon. And so you can find us at spadespoon.com. And there's no commitments. We believe that, people really, if this is a hack for people and they really need us, we don't need to tie them into some weird subscription model that just banks on them for getting a cup to cancel. That's not good business. So no commitments. You just sign up. You can even just sign up for a newsletter and lurk for a little while and learn about our producers and get to know us a little bit more. We do local delivery, so you're not going to find a lot of packaging. You can open up the box and literally just see the produce and your food right there.
We're even
Yeah.
encouraged to reuse the box because you guys pick up the
Yes.
boxes, which I love because nobody
Correct.
needs another couple of cardboard boxes to break down and put in the recycling right now. So thank you so
Correct.
much for letting me send back those cold packs and boxes every week.
Yeah. So we would love for your listeners to try us out. They get 30% off, and you can use your podcast name.
Amazing. What's the code? Just Solving for Joy?
Solving for Joy. I think that's perfect.
We'll put it in the show notes, everybody, but you heard it here.
So yes, I think that Solving for Joy, getting dinner, and nourishing your body are two really great hacks to solve for joy.
I'll drink to that.
Cool. Thank you for having me on, Chrissie.
My pleasure. We'll talk soon, Joy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We will see you next time. Thank you guys for tuning in today. I am so pleased to tell you that next week you will get to listen to a fun conversation between myself and Dr. Wendy Schofer. She is a pediatrician, coach, and comedian. So tune in next week. I want to take a quick moment to acknowledge our incredible team. This podcast is produced by the amazing Kelsey Vaughn, post-production and more handled by Alyssa Wilkes, and my steadfast friend and director of operations, Denise Crane. Our theme music is by Dennis Kishcook, cover photography by the talented Shelby Bracken, and a special appreciation to my loyal champion and #1 fan, Suzanne Sanchez. Thanks again for tuning in, everyone. May we continue caring for ourselves, caring for others, and may we continue solving for joy. Take care. We'll see you next time.